Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite_UK. Rugby analysis, referee controversies and transparency. Please subscribe to the channel. In elite sports, especially in a physically intense and emotional game like rugby, people often say that results are not only decided by the strength, tactics, or resilience of the players, but also by another very human factor, the referee. And when this factor becomes the center of controversy, the story is no longer simply about winning or losing, but becomes an issue of trust, fairness, and transparency within an entire system. The match between the Stormers and Toulon in the recent Investec Champions Cup is a clear example. A situation that seemed like just another moment in the game became the focal point of debate among experts, former players, and fans around the world. When the Stormers were denied a penalty that could have earned them 7 points after an illegal obstruction right near the try line, the question was no longer simply right or wrong, but why. Reactions from former stars such as Jean de Villiers, Nick Mallett, and Skulk Burger were not surprising. They are not only players who competed at the highest level, but also people who deeply understand every small detail of the laws of the game. When they all speak up, it shows that the issue is no longer emotional, but a sign of real instability in the way the officiating system operates.
What makes me think the most is not whether the Stormers were unfairly treated, but the sense of uncertainty that such decisions create. In sport, people accept mistakes, because referees are human. But what is harder to accept is inconsistency. A similar situation, in a different context, leads to a completely different decision. That leaves viewers unsure of what the true standard of the rules actually is. Jean de Villiers was absolutely right when he expressed frustration about the lack of transparency. People see a decision being made, but never receive a clear explanation. This creates an information gap, and that gap is quickly filled with speculation, controversy, and even loss of trust. From my personal perspective, this is not just a rugby issue, but a problem in any field involving evaluation and judgment. When a decision is made without a clear explanation, it not only affects the immediate result, but also undermines the long-term trust of those involved. The situation involving Charles Olivan is also a typical example of the technical, but easily misunderstood nature of rugby laws. The fact that he was allowed to participate in the play while being in the in-goal area, and not standing on the field, is a highly technical detail. But the issue is that not everyone understands it. When spectators don't understand, they are more likely to feel the decision is wrong. And when no one explains it, the feeling of injustice becomes even stronger. This leads to a deeper thought. Modern sport is not only for those involved, but also for millions of fans. If the rules become too complex without being clearly communicated, they become a barrier between the sport and its audience.
I also paid special attention to Schalkberger's view that if there are technical details we don't fully understand, then we all need to be educated. This is a very thought-provoking perspective. It is not critical, but constructive. Instead of blaming, he proposes a solution: education and transparency. Looking more broadly, the issue is not just a single decision, but the lack of consistency in how the rules are applied. Berger also emphasized that over the past 5 years, such situations would almost always result in a penalty and a yellow card, sometimes even additional points. But in this match, that did not happen. This change, if not explained, makes people feel that the rules are overly flexible, and that is dangerous. Emotionally, I feel sorry for the Stormers, not only because they may have lost a chance to win, but also because they ended up in a situation where the result was not fully within their control. However, I also do not want to take an extreme view that the referee was completely wrong. Because in a complex sport like rugby, every decision can be influenced by perspective, game speed, and time pressure. What matters more is, does the system respond after such situations?
If there is a clear report from governing bodies explaining why a decision was made, whether correct or incorrect, fans will still feel respected. Otherwise, silence only prolongs controversy and erodes trust. From this story, I draw a clear personal lesson. In any field, transparency and consistency are always more important than trying to be absolutely correct. Humans can accept mistakes, but they struggle to accept ambiguity. For fans, the lesson is perhaps to maintain a balanced perspective. Passion is wonderful, but passion must go hand in hand with understanding. Learning the rules and listening to different viewpoints helps us avoid extreme reactions and evaluate situations more fairly. For the wider sporting community, especially rugby, this is a reminder that the development of the sport is not only about the quality of play, but also about how it communicates with its audience. Transparency is not an option, it is a requirement in an age where everything can be analyzed, dissected, and spread within minutes. Ultimately, what I feel most clearly after this story is that sport, no matter how intense, must always preserve fairness and trust. Because when trust is lost, victory becomes less meaningful and defeat becomes harder to accept. And perhaps what people like Jean de Vierce are calling for is not just an explanation for a single incident, but a systemic change where every important decision is made transparent, so that everyone who loves rugby can continue to trust and enjoy the sport to its fullest.
Scrum Masters Elite_UK says goodbye for now. See you again in Rugby Analyses about refereeing, transparency, and fairness on the field. Thank you.